In just over 2 days, this Old Town Square Plaza will be filled with thousands of people from really all over northern Colorado, probably parts of Wyoming, for the annual lighting ceremony. This year, November 4th at 6:30 p.m., we will be lighting up the town. It's a pretty fun and special event, but it got me thinking. People come down to spend time in the heart of Fort Collins in Old Town Square, which really is ultimately where Fort Collins got its start. Fort Collins, military outpost. So today's video, we will be doing a historic walk of Old Town Square in downtown Fort Collins. We're gonna be looking at some of the businesses in Old Town Square, some of the OGs, original gangster businesses, restaurants, and go have a drink in the town pump, look at some of the old houses, and talk just in general about what Fort Collins is and about, and kind of where we got our roots. So join me on today's vlog, and we're actually gonna get into the underbelly of an old building, see some kind of cool things of what's underneath Old Town Square. So again, join me on today's video. My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And this is Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel. As much as we like making these YouTube videos, we are licensed real estate agents here in the state of Colorado. So if you're considering moving here, give us a call, text, or email. We've got your back. We work with people from across the country. Have closed many people from moving from Germany, Morocco to Denver. So don't ever hesitate, but we love to provide value and enjoy this vlog of Old Town Square, a historic walk. Let's go. So I'm just gonna take a walk through the plaza and just point out some of the different businesses. Like Goldworks right here is actually where I got my engagement ring, wedding ring, and usually get an annual gift for my wife, Janae. And things that you might notice is there's different color brick buildings here. The darker red bricks is when this plaza was redeveloped, or I should say like renovated in 2015. It was a $3 million project. They moved the stage back, opened it up, added the splash pad, and really, provided a lot of infrastructure underneath, providing, utilities, electric, water mains to these buildings that really needed it. But in 1984 and 85, what you see now with the red brick buildings, all of these were kind of individualized buildings built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then Gene Mitchell took it upon himself and took a huge undertaking to redevelop this area. Now, unfortunately, he did come across the savings and loan crisis and a real estate kind of downward spiral. So lost this development, but really made Old Town Square what it is. But some of the different businesses down here that have been staples for 20 plus years is Sierra. There's a kind of a women's boutique, more affordable type clothing. Cooper Smith's, which has been here for 30 years. A brew pub, some good eating there, good patio right behind me. Beers, one of the original microbreweries here in northern Colorado, if you consider this place kind of the Napa, Napa Valley of beer, microbreweries I should say. And then we've got a new business coming behind us, which is a virtual golf simulator. There's gonna be 3 bays, and people can come down, hit the balls, on their lunch break or bachelor party, anything like that. One of the things that we're kind of sad to see go is Little Bird Bake Shop. They're moving. They're gonna take over what is Canino's, so that'll be really interesting, and hopefully that they have some good success there. But I believe a new bakery will be coming in there. Other than that, Lucky Joe's is one of the most popular bars here in town. St. Patrick's Day is going to be, in March, and is a big deal for them. But if you've been at or around CSU, you go there. Unfortunately, there's no more peanuts, but you go grab a beer, hang out in that old saloon-style restaurant. So those are some of the different businesses in Old Town Square. But now let's go jump underneath the buildings and have a look at some of the infrastructure below, what we called the dungeon. So we got behind me the 1881 old firehouse, and down this alley is actually one of the few alleys that has not yet been renovated. It is in the books to be renovated, but hasn't been yet. So I speak frequently about how beautiful the alleys are down here, but this is one of the alleys that have not yet been renovated. So here we go, let's jump down into the dungeon. What? Did you really? That's awesome.
You can't see now, just see all the backfill.
Oh, really? See if you can roll a flashlight. Oh, okay. So apparently these little doorways were for moving alcohol under the streets from building to building, kind of like an underground tunnel system, but you can kind of see it's like stone block foundations down here, and we're underneath all of Old Town Square right now. Pretty cool. So you can see the burn, and it's sistered with new wood right here. There was a fire here at some point. So if you were ever wondering what was underneath Old Town and some of the oldest buildings in Old Town Square, now you have it. nothing too spectacular, but still pretty cool to see. And you know, these buildings have been standing for over 100 years. Nothing to compare to it on the northeast, but still significantly pretty old for an 1867 founded city. All right, there's the basement, or the underground. So behind me is one of the prettier alleys that has been renovated, and it looks really great, but is also Trimble Court Artisans, founded in 1971 by a group of women artists, and now is owned by more than 50 artists, a group of artists, and is still in operation today, so pretty cool. And then we got this alley, and we're gonna be walking into the Town Pump here, which is Fort Collins' oldest bar. So unfortunately, the Town Pump is closed this afternoon. It is Wednesday at around 2:30 p.m., but Town Pump was opened in 1909, went through Prohibition, almost closed down during COVID, but it's this tiny little bar, about 400 square feet, that's the local watering hole for, you know, close to now over 100 years. But if you're gonna go and check out the Town Pump, make sure to try an Atomic Cherry. So the City Drug is the second longest lasting business still in Fort Collins, Colorado. Founded in 1873, it's changed locations a few times, but in 1991 it was bought by the Wilkins family, and Sylvia, the mother, still kind of walks around and helps those that, you know, walk in there. So if you're in Fort Collins, definitely walk in, talk to the City Drug. They are a wealth of knowledge all about Fort Collins. And then behind me is actually the Silver Grill, which if you come to Fort Collins and you're looking for a breakfast joint that ultimately is like second to none in my opinion, but you will absolutely have a decent wait, is the Silver Grill, that was founded in 1933, but just recently traded hands and is under new ownership. The menu's changed a little bit, but if you are going to check out the Silver Grill, make sure to check out their cinnamon roll toast. It's delicious. It's basically like a cinnamon roll cut in half, toasted with butter on top. Pretty awesome, but expect a wait if you are going to the Silver Grill, especially on the weekends or during homecoming or any type of big event. Silver Grill was founded again in 1933, one of our longest lasting businesses, and something that if you like breakfast down in Old Town, check it out. So Old Town Square, Old Town Fort Collins, downtown Fort Collins is definitely a tourist trap. And tons of people who are coming here to visit, looking at moving, they find themselves checking out Old Town, which is, you know, the right thing to do. Actually, I just walked by a couple that they're from Kansas. They're there with their mom, and we're just asking questions about what I was doing and things of that nature. But the cool thing about downtown Fort Collins is they're always renovating, updating, doing cool things, renovating alleys, having buildings, you know, building paint, and then updating different things and really listening to the city of Fort Collins about what they want and how can they maintain this absolute gem, which is Old Town Fort Collins. And Linden Street, which I've done some videos on, was just renovated. It's a transitional type street that can be driven on 365 days a year, but can also be transformed into just a walkway. So they'll shut off both ends and it'll just be walking traffic for people. So that's just brand new and pretty special. Went down there, the sidewalks were extended to kind of add some patio seating. And then just behind it is the Elizabeth Hotel, which we're gonna go check a look at, the oldest building in Fort Collins. So I wanted to talk on something that Fort Collins is super lucky to have. We have a billionaire that is a massive philanthropist and gives back to the city, just continually gives back. And behind me is the building that she built over a decade ago, but then also the Elizabeth Hotel, which is super special. It's gorgeous. Me and my wife have done staycations there. The Armadillo, which was a Mexican restaurant, got raised and that got built on top of it. But she pours money into taking what was old and making it new, which is kind of what I wanted to show you on this right here, is the Armory building. So it's Fort Collins, and this was the Armory of Fort Collins. And she's turned that building and retrofitted it into just a wonderful, very quaint music venue that we went and looked at or watched some jazz artists perform there. And again, she also turned Wellington's into this great amphitheater that was an old dive bar, but kept this old sandstone out front exposure and turned this into a great music venue. So we are super lucky to have her, and she continues to pour into it, whether that's herself or through her Bohemian Foundation, and does a great job all throughout Old Town. So we are lucky to have her, and if you're watching this, thank you very much. So about 2.5 blocks from Old Town Square is the Fort Collins Library, and then behind me is Fort Collins' oldest structures, built in 1864. Auntie Elizabeth, which is what actually the Elizabeth Hotel is named after, was some of the oldest structures in Fort Collins. Behind me is Fort Collins' oldest inhabited houses, built in 1868 and once owned by the Armstrongs, which there's the Armstrong Hotel, is now actually a rental. I actually know this house pretty decently because the blue house that you see behind me, I actually owned for about 1.5 years. And we didn't do necessarily a fix and flip. We held it as an investment property for a little bit. But then our partnership that I was involved with at that time went our separate ways. So we sold it and cashed out. So we actually are pretty familiar with that house, but 1868, that house was built. So pretty amazing to see that, but it looks like it was built in 1868. I was not planning on walking to my final location of filming, as it's only about a mile and a half from my office, but finishing off with the oldest inhabited house in Fort Collins. We started off at Oak Street, and again, I worked in Old Town Square, downtown Fort Collins for over a decade, and really took it a lot for granted, but I saw it through its big renovation when they moved the fountain back to the end and added the splash pad. But it has gone through massive changes over the years. In 1984 and 85, when Gene Mitchell built in those additional buildings with over probably right around 150,000 square feet of commercial space between office and retail. And before that, my family moved here in the 60s, and Old Town Fort Collins was really not a very safe place. Today, you can 100% walk around Old Town on a Friday, Saturday night, feel pretty safe. Now, after 12:30, 1 o'clock, yeah, probably best not to walk around, you know, too often with little kiddos because they should be sleeping. But one thing I didn't hit on today was, of course, the inspiration that Harper Goff drew from to create Main Street in Disneyland from a lot of the buildings down in Fort Collins and Old Town, that firehouse building that I showed you guys. But there's just so many cool historic things about Fort Collins and downtown that hopefully you guys now understand. And for me too, you know, learning more about the history more and more and being able to show you guys. So if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to watch. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Take care.